In this section, we're going to teach you some basic exercises to start out with. First up, we're going to work in with the club clean. Hinge over from the hips, pull the club onto the edge of the barrel, and hike it up like you do a kettlebell swing. The club will swing on the outside of the legs, and swing up until you come up into the order position. That is where your arm is at a right angle to the ground, and the club is pointing up to the sky. This is the point when you start to grip the club. As it comes back down into the downswing, relax your grip and allow the club to free swing. Driving again with your hips to come back up into the order position. Mastering the clean here is a lot easier than what it is using a kettlebell, and it's a great transitional point for when you're starting to use clubs. This will begin to show you where you can start to move your club, joining them into flowing type routines, or simply just working on singular exercises. One big thing to focus on here is to keep your feet directly under your hips or together. This will help give you clearance from the club to your knees. Hinge back through the hips. So have a slight bend in the knees, keeping the shins vertical above the ankle, and push the hips back, keeping your back nice and flat. Drive nice and hard with your hips until you come up straight and tall into the tall plank position. Stop the club in the order position. That is with your arm bent at a right angle and the club pointing up to the sky. From here, push the club back into the downswing and allow it to pull you into your hinge. Don't chase the club straight away. Allow the club to do the work in creating the down part of your swing. Repeat this process for as many reps as you are desiring to practice. The next exercise we'll take a look at is the two-handed gamma cast. This is excellent for starting out to build shoulder strength and working your way into the single arm gamma cast. The gamma cast is one of the base moves that should be taught and learnt when starting with steel clubs. Grab hold of the club with your opposing hand at the bottom of the handle and the hand that you wish to put the club over the shoulder of at the top. Keeping your elbow in nice and tight on the lifting arm, feed the club over the shoulder as if you are trying to scratch your back with the club. Keep up nice and tall through the chest. Make sure your hips are directly under your shoulders. Breathe in as the club comes over the shoulder and breathe out as you tug the club back to the order position. Use your spare hand to create balance and stability in the club as you bring the club over and back. Primarily grip the club with the hand that you wish to cast the club over of that shoulder. Focus on good, controlled reps. Speed is not a necessity. Focusing on our technique and how and where the club is going is most important throughout this exercise. Now we're going to look at two different casts. The single arm gamma cast and the single arm kodo cast. Grab your club and bring it up and over the shoulder, nice and tight to the body, aiming to keep the elbow inside the shoulder as you do this. Again, we want to think like we're trying to scratch our shoulder with the club, although we're not actually going to make contact with the shoulder. When you bring the cast back, you end up in the order position. That is where your arm is at a nice right angle, parallel to the ground with your forearm, and the club is pointed up to the sky. The next exercise is the kodo cast. Extend the arm out to the side of the body. From here, we're going to be like the gamma cast, and we're going to bend through the elbow and try and place the club behind the shoulder, imagining again like we're trying to scratch our shoulder with the club, although we don't make actual contact with the shoulder. Our shoulder we want to try and keep level. Try not to shrug your shoulder as you bend your elbow to cast the club behind your back. And from here, we want to try and stay stable and tall. Do not laterally bend to compensate for the resistance that is placed on the body with the club in the extended position. Once you have cast it behind your shoulder, again, cast it back out until your arm is in the full extended position. You can go as a midpoint to this and have an order position for your arm extended out to the side. So rather than the order position in front where our arm is at a right angle to the ground, we will simply have it in an open position out to the side. We'll have a nice right angle in the arm with our forearm parallel to the ground and the club pointing up to the sky. As you cast the club over the shoulder, take a nice big deep breath in and breathe out to bring the club back to the originating position. The outside to in mill. This is one of the must-learn variations with the steel club and one of the most important exercises you will ever learn to do with a club. Start with the club in one hand and in the order position and push the club across the midline of the body to the opposing side. Allow it to come into a free swinging pendulum swing in front of the body, and then as it comes out to the side of your body, bring it up and over the shoulder like you're doing a Kodo cast. As it comes behind the shoulder, again allow the club to come into a free pendulum swing behind the shoulder. And now as it comes up and over the shoulder, use a powerful pivot and turn through your foot to create the sling over the shoulder. As you do this, stay up tall. Don't allow your torso to travel with the club. Pull the elbow down and don't allow the arm to fully extend out in front. You don't want to literally throw the club and you don't want your arm to go completely straight as you cast over the shoulder in the mill, as this will place a lot of stress in the shoulder and in the elbow joint. Breathe in as the club comes up and behind the shoulder and breathe out as you cast over the shoulder. Making sure to pivot and turn using your feet throughout each phase of the movement, as this will help connect your feet through into the shoulders and give you much more power and much better technique. The inside to out mill is the next variation and a little bit more difficult than the outside to in mill. We're going to do everything the same as our outside to in mill, except now when we start in the order position, we're going to turn away from the midline of our body and start to cast the club over the shoulder. And now as it comes in that free pendulum swing behind our shoulder, we're going to pivot and turn with the club, slinging it back away from our body. From here, we'll just let it free swing down in a pendulum swing in front of the body, coming up and then casting back over our shoulder again, using our feet to pivot and turn every time the club comes up and over the shoulder. Again, this creates much easier amounts of power to allow you to sling the club without having to rely solely on the shoulder and your grip strength to try and move the club around, and makes it a much more connected exercise, which will allow you to get more reps and easier conditioning throughout your training with the club.